Every time I stream live, I say the same thing. I'm having technical difficulties. It's getting old. But once again, you should see me. I have two different computers and they didn't want to act right. So I hope that you find me. I'm going to give everybody a chance to find the live. Let me do that. I'll be right back. I'm coming back. Give you a chance to find the live. All right. Woo, I'm about to knock over the live. Good evening, everyone. I know that the live was supposed to be on a different setup, but hopefully you're able to find me. I'm gonna send a quick note so that everyone can find me. This is crazy, but good evening. Give me a second. I don't see anybody in there yet because I know you're trying to find me. I don't know why it didn't work. Hello. I'm trying to send a note to let everyone know why it's different. It's over here instead of over there, but good evening. It is a Wednesday evening, September the 11th, and I really wanted to do my live stream on September 11th to talk about some of the things that happened that have to do with our love of cruising and how this channel all began. Now I'm getting a notice that my Spectrum is there's an outage. So maybe that's what's going on that's throwing these computers off. You know, if you can't roll with the punches, what can you do? Hopefully you can hear me. Let's see. Yep. There we go. I'm able to see all of you. There we go. I'm looking. I have to, you know, get this all straight here. Let me see. Very good. All right, I think I'm good. Let me know if you can hear me. Somebody, I'm gonna keep talking if you can't. I think so. Yeah, it says I'm good. Right. Wonderful. I wanted to do the live stream, as I was saying, on September 11th because, well, it's a day for us to remember in history, Americans, not just Americans, but especially us. But it's also a day, thank you very much, Nisha, I appreciate that. It's also a day that started our cruising adventure. So I wanted to talk about that. And then I also have updates because we just came back about 2 weeks ago from our 2-week cruise aboard the Enchanted Princess, and I want to give you some updates about that. I want to give you some information about that, and hopefully you are watching the videos. I'm putting them out even still right now so that you can get a look at what the Enchanted Princess looks like, what service on Princess Cruise Lines looks like. We hadn't been on a Princess cruise in years, so there you go. And also I want to tell you about what happened when I got the cruise blues. You know, you would think a 2-week cruise vacation, plus we stayed an extra day, and then we had some time after to visit New York, that would have been enough. I would have come back refreshed and rejuvenated. But instead, I came back sad. I was sad, and it was weird because I was like, I almost couldn't shake it. I was slightly mopey. I didn't want to do much of anything. I was like, oh golly, I was sad. And so I figured out the way to fight the cruise blues. So I want to talk to you about that as well. And we also had some cruise news stories that I wanted to share. And 2 of them are not good. One is very much not good. One is sad for an ongoing saga, and it's sad. And then one is, I think it's going to be exciting. I think people are going to like it, especially Royal Caribbean travelers, or those of you who are interested in doing world cruises. So I have all that to share with you now. So I'm going to wait just a little bit. There we go. And I'm just checking this out over here. Thank you. Okay. I always have to pivot when I'm doing a live. I didn't want to do it on my cell phone. Thank goodness for cell phones that you can do it on, but I had it all set up for my um, computers, and I guess I am in a outage here in my area, and so my internet is it's struggling right now, kind of like me to get started. Well, how is everyone? I'm sorry, I don't know if you can hear it, but somebody's like, it sounds like it's vibrating. I don't know. It sounds weird. Okay, well, welcome everybody to our Wednesday night live. And in homage to September 11th, I want to tell you a couple of things that happened to us on September 11th. But before I do, I want to ask you, how many of you can remember that terribly tragic day on September 11th of 2001? And we recently went to New York and we did a tour over that area, that whole area where it happened with the Twin Towers. And as we were walking there and listening to the narrator, who was very good, I was like, I was emotional. Years later after this has happened, I was still so emotional in listening to the story. But there was such hope in that story, such hope in the whole thing because of what they have built, what it has become, the artists and the people and the things that are there now to demonstrate hope and solidarity and coming together and strength. But I want to know, let me know, please type it in the chat so that I can take a look at it. What were you doing on September 11th of 2001? I want to know that. Do you remember? Were you alive? I keep knocking this over. Tell me, what were you doing September 11th of 2001? Do you remember when you first heard about what was going on? Did you think it was a hoax? Were you like, what? You know, where were you? I remember vividly, and I'm going to share that story with you because it certainly has to do with our cruising, my cruising channel now, my cruising adventures. So yeah, let me know. Let me know. But I want to talk to you first, and then I'm going to tell you where I was. But drop it in the comments. Where were you? Also, let me know where you're from. Any of you who are tuning in tonight, just type it into the chat where you're from. All right, so let me tell you about some cruise news stories. I haven't been doing cruise news stories lately because I've been doing all of my vlogs for our 2-week vacation and our ship tour and our hotel tour for the Enchanted Princess. So I haven't been doing the cruise news lately, but I have a lot of cruise news and I've been watching it and keeping abreast of it. And there are 3 stories that I want to talk about. There's so much going on in the cruise news space, and I'm sure any of you cruise enthusiasts or travel enthusiasts that you watch that, you know. But I want to talk to you about 3 different stories, and chime in at any time in the comments and let me know your thoughts about these stories. Yeah, the first one is terribly tragic. It's terribly tragic. And it's very sad. Just recently, and today is September 11th, so this happened like the 9th or the 10th of September. But a 12-year-old boy has tragically passed away on the Harmony of the Seas. And what happens as we're getting the information in, he fell from a balcony. And now, if any of you are familiar with Royal Caribbean, they have balconies that don't face the ocean. They have inside facing balconies where you face Central Park area. And this happened on one of those balconies that did not face the ocean, but faced the inside Central Park area. The information that we know so far is that this was a 12-year-old boy, and he was returning from a 7-day cruise that left out of Galveston. They were coming back. Maybe this happened on the 7th, I think. I don't have that information in front of me. I had everything set up, and as I said, I'm in a outage, so my internet is not cooperating. But from the notes that I wrote down, they were returning from their 7-day family cruise, and he fell from the balcony, and it was an inside facing balcony, so he fell down into the Central Park area, and unfortunately before the medical team could do anything, he had succumbed to those injuries. So that is terribly terribly tragic. I hate to even, give these stories, but it's all part of the cruise news. And it really hit home for me. I mean, it was so incredibly sad. And of course, we want to know why, what happened, and we don't have all of that information. Do we need all that information? What we know is that tragically a family went on a cruise vacation to celebrate and to be together, and what's happened is they've lost their 12-year-old loved one. The latest news that I got is he was trying to enter his room from the balcony. I don't know if that's true. I want to say once again, I don't know if that's completely true. That's what I saw. But however it unfolded, right now they're just trying to keep the privacy of the family. They gave counseling and medical attention to all of the family members who were there celebrating. It's terribly, terribly tragic. Now, cruisers know that cruise ships are made and they're set up so that that kind of stuff doesn't happen, that people don't just fall from the cruise ships. The cruise ships would have went out of business years ago if it was just easy to fall overboard or, fall off a balcony. So there's always something, there's something going on that happens and we don't know. And it could be, a number of things. But it is very sad. And I was recently thinking about, I would love to take my grandkids on a cruise, especially my 3 oldest, because I believe that they could handle all it would take. I wouldn't have to give them so much individual attention, that they would be able to, get on the ship and understand the rules and have a great time. And then I heard that story and I just thought, a minute can just change your life forever, good or bad. So please do just keep your prayers. If you are a praying person, just give a little moment to send up prayers for that family. And of course, the people that were affected by that. If you were on that cruise and you were there and saw any of that, that would definitely be traumatic. So we're very, very sorry to hear about this terrible tragedy that happened there on the Harmony of the Seas just a few short days ago. That's cruise news story number 1. Let me make it a little bit better, because that's really deep. That's sad. That's really deep, and that's sad. I don't want to be sad and deep. So let me tell you about another cruise news story, and that has to do with the world cruise that just ended on Royal Caribbean. So if you were following any of the cruise news, it was such a big hoopla and a big to-do about Royal Caribbean's first world cruise. Influencers and vloggers of all sorts were jumping on this world cruise, and I think people were being incentivized, in my opinion, to get on this world cruise and find dirt. People want to hear about the dirt and the tragedy and the foolishness, and that's newsworthy, right? If you went on and said everything is great on this cruise, all the food is great, all the entertainment is great, people are getting along, it's kumbaya, it would have been like, oh, that's boring, right? They were looking for some juice, for some dirt, for some tea. And there were all kind of influencers who would get on at different segments and like, oh, it's this, there's a fight, and I don't know how much of it was true. If you tuned into any of it, drop me down in the comment below. What did you hear about the world cruise? I kept hearing that there was drama. It was like tuning into a weekly drama. And I don't know if that's true, because I watched an older couple who were on that world cruise and never saw that. Well, no matter if it was drama or a comedy or somewhere in between, the world cruise is over. It has come to an end this past weekend. They were there like 274 days, visiting all the continents. They did it. Royal Caribbean has successfully completed their first world cruise. And there was an interview with some of the people, and I guess it doesn't matter if you enjoy cruising, no matter how long you're on board. They were sad. Think about it, 274 days or 279 days, you have come to know the crew, to know the people. You've gotten to be like a small knit or a large knit family. And now it's like, goodbye, get out, time to go. So off they went. But that's not all of the story, the fact that this world cruise is over. The story is, what is World Caribbean about to do now that their first world cruise is over? Was it so much drama and madness and mess? Did it not make them money? Was it not what they thought? And they're like, we're scrapping this. We're never going to do it again. Or was it a success and they're going to do another one? Well, the news that we've gotten, and remember, I can't pull up my internet notes. I have to look at my notes here. But the news that we got was Royal Caribbean absolutely will be doing another world cruise. And they're going to announce it at a gathering, a get together, like a reunion of these people who just took this world cruise. I gotta take this down. This is getting on my nerve. Thank you. You might not have been able to hear that, but it was like rattling. It's getting on my nerve. Okay, so they're going to have like a reunion for all the folks who want to get together, who took the world cruise sometime in 2025. And I'm thinking early 2025. And if I'm wrong, please correct me. They're going to have a reunion. And at this reunion, they plan to announce their next world cruise. Are you interested in taking a world cruise? Now, you don't have to take the whole 279 days or however long the whole entirety of it is. You can take segments, you know. It's going all over the world, so you can get on at different segments, get off. Would this be something that you would be interested in doing sometime in the future or in 2025? Yeah, after taking a 14-day cruise, I think I could do it. Now, I'm kind of joking because getting time off if you're a working adult is just one of the things that you would have to consider to go on a world cruise. I mean, think about it. My mom always says to me, where do they get their mail? You know, I don't know. Some of the things you would have to consider in order to have the time and the money to take a long cruise. I don't know. But Royal Caribbean plans to do their second one. So we'll keep our eyes out for their announcements. They say it's going to be in 2025 at their get-together reunion of this current world cruise that just ended. So I wanted to share that information with you as well. And please do me a favor if you are here, smash down on that like. It really, really helps me a lot. If you watch our videos and if you watch the commercials, I know I'm asking a lot, and if you give me some comments and if you give me a like, you just don't know how much that helps the channel. You know, it doesn't cost you anything and it really boosts us up. So if you would, go ahead and give me a like. Tap down on that like button. I have another, let me see. I can't see the comments very well here. Let me check it out. Nope, I'm not trying to highlight. I'm trying to look at the comments. Give me a moment here. There we go. There we go. Okay. Yeah, let me move this down. There we go. Now I can see. I couldn't see the comments at first. That was weird. So like I said, give me a comment. Let me know where you're viewing from. Let me know what you were doing on September 11th of 2021. Let me know if you are interested and would you take a world cruise. Yeah. The next story that I have for you is, oh my goodness, the beleaguered VA residencies. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say VA residencies? If you watch any of my cruise news videos, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But just in case you haven't or you don't remember, VA residencies is a ship that was bought and set up to do residencies for people to live on this ship. And they spent, you know, $150,000 to own their room on this ship and travel, live on this ship. Now, I could be just murdering some of the details because I don't have my notes and my internet's down, but that's the gist of it. People sold everything because remember, they're going to live on the ship. The ship will be home. So imagine it, you're going to live on the ship and just travel around the world. And there was different ways that you could purchase this ship. I'm sorry, not the ship, but space, residence on this ship. Like you can purchase up front with a certain amount and have it for this amount of time, or you could purchase little, segments. I'm going to be on here just when you're over in Europe or over in Asia or whatever. But the whole gist of it was, this is where people would live. You're going to live on this ship. So multiple people bought into it. They're like, yes, this is exactly what we want to do. This would be so wonderful to live our life just traveling the world, seeing some of the most beautiful and exotic places, bucket list destinations, places that you enjoy going, your favorite destinations, seeing it with, the world at your fingertips. So people bought into this. And I think this is time number 5 that it's been delayed. Beleaguered is what I'm saying. There's been some kind of instance or incident, something that has stopped this ship from sailing over and over and over again, and I'm rooting for these guys. I watch some of the people who were there on the ship. Well, they're not on the ship. They're waiting for the ship. I'm really, really rooting for these guys. So let me tell you the story. Right now, a lot of folk who paid for this are in Belfast. They're there where the ship is. I think I'm saying it right. And they're in hotels, right? Because the way it is right now, the ship, they allow them to come onto the ship like part of the day and meet one another. All the people who have bought into it, you're able to come on the ship for part of the day. They feed you, they have some games and activities, but then you can't spend the night. You have to leave and get off the ship before, night sets in. You can't stay overnight yet. They don't have the clearance. The sea trials aren't done, but they're trying to, they're working with them. The builders and the investors, they're working with the people who have bought into this. Of course, they're trying to keep them happy with all these delays. So they're in Belfast, and they're allowing them to come on the ship, eat, play, because it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before the ship is ready. Well, they've been there for weeks. And just yesterday, I saw a video of a couple who were there, and they said they had terrible news. V just did their sea trials like this past weekend. And hopefully, sea trials, and they were going to get on and get started with their wonderful lifelong adventure, right? Well, the sea trials did not go well at all. And so the people who purchased residencies received an email. I think it's an email, or it could have been, it was an email. And this email said, we're very sorry, yada, 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 but the sea trials did not go well. And here's the kicker. While they are there in this area overseas waiting for the ship, like I said, these investors, the owners, they're trying to appease the people as much as they can. I mean, they want to go just as much as the people, right? So what they are doing, they've been paying for their hotels and their lodging. And like I said, you can come on the ship throughout the day and eat and have your service from the staff and play games and get together with the other people who are there. You just have to leave at night. So this email comes after the sea trials did not go well. And the email says, we're sorry, sea trials did not go well. And then they commence to let them know that, listen, this is killing them financially. Trying to get this ship together, doing everything to comply with all the rules and laws and regulations, and paying for their lodging and letting them on the ship and eating the food. They just can't do it anymore. They're very sorry, but for the next 7 days at least, can you foot your own bills? Okay. Now, I'm not probably getting it 100% correct, but that is the main gist of it, that the company is just not able to continue to pay for your lodging and all that. Can you foot your own bill? I'm going to swing that over to you. Could you foot your own bill? You've sold everything, or you've done whatever you need to do to stay on this ship, and it's been delayed 3, 4, 5 times, and now you're over in another country. Belfast, I think, is where they are, and they have been staying in hotels and lodging like this, but the owners of the ship have been paying for it, because they had told them, come on and get on the ship, and then it didn't work out. So now they're saying, we're sorry, we don't have the money to keep doing this. Can you go ahead and pay for your own hotel? Well, the couple that I saw said, no, we can't. We can't pay for our own hotel. They said something like over there, the hotel in American dollars would be something like, $229 a night. And that might be cool to stay 1 or 2 nights, but remember, I stated this is like the 5th time that this ship has not sailed. So that was another serious blow for these guys who have been just trying to hang in there, trying to stick with it, trying to make their dream come true. I mean, it's a dream for them. That's why they would do something as bold as this move, right? And they have been hanging in there and sticking with the people who are trying to make this happen. But even the couple, though, that I saw, they didn't like bash them or badmouth them, nothing like that. They're very hopeful. They just said, it's going to be cheaper for us to catch a flight back to the U.S. and just wait it out than it would for us to stay here for maybe another week paying that kind of money. We just can't do it. So I wanted to share that story, those 3 cruise news stories. I would love to know your thoughts. I would love to know your thoughts. Let me see. I'm sorry. What do you think about this? There we go. Yeah. There we go. I'm sorry. I got to get it straight here. I think this is, it's wild. It's wild. You always put yourself in these kind of situations, right? You're like, well, if that would happen to me, you would what? Yeah. I was thinking about it. I'm like, I'm probably thinking I would go home too, but I thought to myself, where would home be? What if I had sold my home and sold my stuff to take this bold, exciting adventure? Is it cheaper to go back to where I guess I call my home base and stay in a hotel or stay with some family or friends? I don't know. That would be interesting. But like I say, the couple that I watched, they said they're on their way back to the States. They didn't say if they, still had a home or what if they were going to stay with family. They just said it's cheaper to go back home. So VFV still not ready to set sail yet. I think it's pretty sad. Yeah. All right. I've talked to you about some cruise news. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about my news. I told you earlier that I had like the cruise blues. We got off of the ship Enchanted Princess on August 24th. And we made it back to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then we kind of chilled out. And that next day was a Sunday. We kind of chilled out. And then Monday it was like right back to it. Work and, garbage and washing dishes and vacuuming. And I was like, ugh. I've forgotten how to do that. Quickly relearning, what to do. Nobody's taking out my trash and folding my sheet. I was platinum on the cruise. So, I mean, they spoiled me. My refrigerator was stocked, and I had this bar of alcohol that I didn't even touch, 60% of it, and water and pops. And then they did our laundry for us, and then they, hung it up, and they gave us canapes served in our room and tea in our room. It was just so sweet. Captain's meetings and hors d'oeuvres. I mean, boy, oh boy, I was spoiled. So I got back home and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, boo-hoo. And the only thing that I knew to do was to book another cruise. I'm batting it over to you again. Any of you know what I mean when I'm talking about the cruise blues? I really felt sad. I was really sad. And I'm like, Cynthia, you were just blessed beyond belief. God blessed me to be able to go on this cruise, and it didn't cost a lot, and it was wonderful. And I was there with people that I love, and it was great seeing these islands. We've been there before, but it was still just so nice, and we were treated so well. So what are you moaning about? Why are you going around so sad? What's sad? Everything is good. It's all good. So I didn't know. I booked another cruise. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you all about that cruise because it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm gonna tell you where I'm going. I'm going to tell you when I'm going, and I'm going to tell you what ship I'm going on, which is very interesting. But I'm going to hold out a little bit, build up some suspense, right? As I talk to you about our Enchanted Princess cruise, I had some preconceived notions, y'all. I did. I did. I hadn't been on a princess cruise ship since like 2003. 1, 2, 3. So things have changed just a little bit since then, right? But I'm just going to be completely frank and honest with you. When I went on that princess cruise back in 2003, I was bored. Bored. Do you hear me? Bored. I complained about the entertainment. I complained about the food. I complained about the service. I remember that. I felt like they were money grubbers, money grabs, just money grabs all the time. You step on, let me give you this. How about purchasing that? This is extra. This doesn't come. I was just like, hard selling you the spa, hard selling you the drink package. The entertainment was like, are you kidding me? I remember, I think Muppets or okay, not the Muppets, but like, puppets. I was like, this is the main show. I was bored on my princess cruise. I didn't love it. That's what I remember back in 2003. So I became a travel agent, and some of the things that you can do as a travel agent is take the cruises yourself so that you can firsthand experience it, and that way you can offer it to your clients, right? If somebody says, what do you think about the food on Princess Cruise Lines? Well, I can say, I hear it's good. Or I can say, the food on Princess Cruise Lines is good, or the food on Princess is excellent. And I can really attest to the fact that I can give you an experienced, something that has some substance to it because I know what I'm talking about. I've experienced it, right? I heard that there was a, what do you call it? The casino, for instance. There is a side to the casino that is non-smoking. I'm not a smoker. And then there's a side to the casino that is smoking. And I had heard that the non-smoking side was much smaller and had less games, and the smoking side is much bigger and has more games. Well, I went and experienced that for myself, and that most certainly is true. It is true. The games that are, in my opinion, more popular, more people flock to, you see, want to play, are definitely on the smoking side. It is for sure. And that is also where the cashier cage and all that, it's on the smoking side. Now on the non-smoking side, which you just walk through a little side door, and I do appreciate that it's actually a door, because some smoking casinos and non-smoking casinos, it's like one step you're smoking, the next step you're non. Well, it's that, This one's actually separated by a door that you walk through onto the other side. Well, now I have firsthand knowledge that I can share with anyone interested in booking, cruise travel. So I decided we were going to go back on to Princess Cruise. And I did a bunch of training as well. I did a lot of training to brush up on my knowledge of Princess, and I earned status as an elite, which is the top status there on Princess Cruise. Although I had only been on one Princess Cruise before, I have the status of someone who had been on many. So that's a serious perk to all of the training. And it's a lot. It was a lot of training and test passing and training and passing these tests. So I had a little bit of a preconceived notion that this cruise might be a bore or for grandmas or grandpas. I kind of had the feeling that Princess was like for older people and it could be a little boring. I am very happy to let you know the furthest thing from the truth. And their entertainment has significantly picked up as well. So first, let me start with the demographics. Who is on that Princess cruise ship? I think that this cruise ship is going to be a little different than maybe some others because this was a repositioning cruise. So it left out of Fort Lauderdale and it took us up to New York. We got off at the Brooklyn terminal. So it wasn't, just the circle. So there are people who wouldn't take that type of cruise, who might take a cruise that left from the same area that it came back from. So Keep that in mind. There were lots of international travelers. So many people were from everywhere besides the United States, and I loved it. I loved it. There were accents. I mean, English was just like one of the many languages you heard. There was just so many people there. And I remember at one point we were in the Princess Live, which is the theater where they have all like the trivia and the yes no game and the fun. And I was talking to my mom, my sister, and a lady said, "Excuse me, I just like to know, where are you from? I love your accent." And I murdered that accent, by the way. And I looked at her and I said, "My accent?" And she's like, "Yeah, where are you from?" And I giggled in her face and I thought, I have an accent? Okay. Yeah, I live in Texas right now. Originally from New York, I live in Texas. Oh, and I think she said, like, we've been to New York before. And I asked her, "Where are you from?" And she was from Scotland. And her boyfriend, no, her husband was from England, but I mean, it was so international. And I think that might have had a little something to do with how the cruise went from one port to the other. There in New York City, you can take a flight out of JFK or out of Newark, I think it is. And then we were out of LaGuardia and go all over the world, right? So very international group of travelers. Another thing that I thought was so interesting about this Princess Cruise, and I mean, that's just what so happened to be this cruise, there was this large group of Asian travelers who were dancers. And when I say dancers, I don't mean like they just thought that they had some moves. I mean like they brought their dancing shoes with them. I literally mean dancing shoes, point and little heel, and men and women, both of them. They had their little soft shoe dancing shoes on, and they were out there and they meant business. They meant business. They were out there on the floor, arms up, doing the twirl and lift, spin. I was like, gosh, they were part of my entertainment. Now that was just extra, I know, but it was this big group of them. And during the cruise, every day every sea day, you could learn a different dance, merengue, salsa. So they would come out to these dance classes, and one time they explained to us that their dance teacher had brought them all on this cruise, and she was a very pretty, very young lady with all of the moves. And he was teaching, one of the staff was teaching the dance out there, and he's like, "Do I have somebody who will do this with me?" And him and her were out there just moving it and grooving it. It is in one of my videos, so check out the videos. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But these people, the demographic for the group, I would say it was older. I would say people were probably in their 40s, 50s, and up for the majority. Do not get me wrong. Do not be fooled. There were many young people there, many. And when I say young people, I do mean children as well. I got asked one time, were there a lot of children on the cruise? I want to say yes, but a lot is a very relative term. But there were kids of all ages, kids in strollers, babies, teenagers, preteens running around. There were plenty of kids on the cruise. And there were plenty of younger people, but I'm going to definitely say the age skewed more to older 40s, 50s, and up. That didn't stop them from wearing string bikinis. I've been on a lot of cruises, right? I don't think I have ever seen as many bikinis as I have on this cruise with the age skewed up. I was like, you know what? I bet you 70 years old in that string bikini. You go. I saw so many women and men in their little Speedos or whatever men wear that's kind of revealing. Older men and women in their small little bikinis, in their small swimwear. And I was like, you know what? Do it. Enjoy your life. Do what you're going to do. I loved it. I saw a lot of that, and it didn't matter what age they were. I saw people in walkers and wheelchairs. There was a gentleman. Oh man, this was so interesting. There was a gentleman who was a double amputee. He had no legs, right? And he had prosthetic legs. And on these prosthetic legs, he had some kind of way, it was a flag on both of the legs. I don't know how, I'm sorry if I'm not describing this right, but both of his prosthetic legs, You know, it was like that bottom part, but at the top part, it was a flag, the American flag, right? So he wore shorts every day that I saw him. He wore shorts so that you could see that these were prosthetic legs, and you could see that flag coming, boom, boom, those flags coming. He was a tall guy, so with his legs on, he probably was 6'2" or 6'3". He was kind of big, stocky, and tall when he had those legs on, and he was moving. He was moving on that ship. I was like, he is putting people to shame. That man was walking all over with those prosthetic legs on that had the American flag. I saw all kind of people, you know, in all kind of health conditions there enjoying their life, enjoying the cruise. I saw all of that. Um, the that would what else can I say about the age demographic? And I saw all kind of walks of life, all kind of ethnicities. It was very multicultural, and I personally enjoy that a lot. Now, the entertainment. You would think that with a ship that was skewed more toward, you know, late 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, keep going, that the music might have been a little Girl from Ipanema. No. Check out one of my videos, please, and you will see that the entertainment was so lively. There was the Vista Lounge. That was the like nightclub. Come the evening time, that would turn into like the popular music, and boy, oh boy, that place was pumping, pumping, pumping. People out there on the dance floor shaking everything they had. Everything was shaking. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was jumping every night. I went there. It was my duty as a YouTuber to vlog it, so I did go. I didn't shake much. I just filmed it. But it was a very happening place, that Vista Lounge. That's where you wanted to, that's where you went if you were single, if you wanted to meet somebody, or if you wanted to shake your bonbon, Vista Lounge was it. That's also where they would have the late night comedian or the adult entertainment in the Vista Lounge. But the entertainment was not low key. I'm talking about in particular the music. They had the Pinnacle Band, and he is in my, not he, the whole band, they're in my videos, and boy oh boy was this man energetic. He made you tired looking at him. He'd be singing a popular song and just bouncing and jumping and shaking and twirling and twisting. You know, we were there 14 days, kind of got to know us. At one point, the three of us were kind of sitting down, just bobbing our heads, enjoying it. And he said, and I'm like, what's that mean? WWW to you too. But he was saying on the microphone in front of everybody, you three, I see you over there. I see you. Seen you. You're making me look bad. Get up and dance. Then commenced to come over and pull us out on the dance floor. So, you know, there was not a lot of being still. It was a lot of lively music. There was a 70s party. There was an 80s party. Let's see. There was all kind of parties. Every night they had like 80s music or 90s music or 70s music as the actual music, let alone as the trivia, because trivia boy was popping. I'm going to tell you about trivia in a minute. They're serious with trivia. People are cheaters and they're serious. But let me tell you first the entertainment. So the music was lively. Now, let's say you didn't want all that. You didn't want all the... Well, they had a strings duo. I think it was a husband and wife strings duo. They played every night and it sounded lovely. You can go into the different area over by the restaurant, one of the Crown Grill, I think it's called. And there's this like kind of quiet area, although it's not like tucked away, but it's kind of laid back, leather chairs, dark muted lights over by the steakhouse, the specialty steakhouse restaurant, and the strings duo would play. There was also a steel pan drum player. Bing, boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm talking about. He would play. So if you wanted, you know, a little less bumping, you had that. There was also a gentleman. He was from Britain, somewhere from England, and he would play like popular songs on the guitar. And he was very good. And then there was, in the piano area, there was another British gentleman who played like, kind of more like what I maybe would have expected Princess to have, like a bunch of, what's the name from Elton John and Rocket Man, who's, Billy Joel, and kind of that kind of music, where you could sing along on the piano. So they had that if you wanted it. And then there was this Irish pub restaurant where you could hear Irish tunes as well. So there was a variety of different music that you could listen to. If music is what you wanted, you had it. From the dancing, your bonbon, to sitting and chilling, to strings. So it was a lot. I appreciated that. They also had, like I said, trivia. Trivia was really big on the ship, and they had it in a venue called Princess Live. And we were there every night. We met some really cool people, hung out with them a lot, celebrated, won, high five, boom. I have my what did we win? It was like a little coaster, They give away, what did they say? These life-changing prizes, terrible champagne and coasters and, knickknacks like that. It's not about the prize. It's about the boasting that you won. And I'm telling you, people are cheating. How dare you play trivia and they ask a question and you pick up your phone? You loser, loser, loser. I hope there's a cheating loser on here. I hope it is. I hope it is, because you're a loser. You're a loser. You don't have to cheat at trivia. I'm stating this right here from the comfort of my home. If you cheat at trivia, you're a loser. Okay. There were some sore losers and people who, they didn't win. And they do it on an honor system. So they go through and they ask you the questions, whatever a question is. I can't even think right now of the million of trivia questions that we got asked on the ship. And they say, okay, right from, grab your pen and grab your paper, and there's going to be 20 questions or 25 questions. And they go through and do all the questions, and then it's time to give the answers. They give the answers. We ooh and ah. We say, oh yeah, oh no. And then they say, like, okay, how many of you got at least 10? Woo! 12, woo! So it's an honor system. You woo. How many of you got 18 out of 20? Woo! So I could have got none right and said, woo! They don't check. The teacher doesn't come in grade with a red pen. So, people were not being very nice. But we still managed to win a trivia or two fair and square. We did, like I say, meet up with some really good people, and we put our minds together, and it was cool because the stuff that I was like, I've never heard of that before. They were like, I got it. And vice versa. I was like, oh, I know that one. So trivia was a lot of fun, and they had all kind of trivia every day. Sea Day, Port Day, 80s trivia, 90s trivia, divas, Whitney Houston, ABBA. ABBA was a big thing on this cruise. There was like a show where it was songs devoted to ABBA. There was ABBA trivia, ABBA music. So that was a big thing on this cruise. But all kinds of trivia. It was a lot of fun. It was cool, even if maybe you didn't. My mom is not like the biggest trivia lover, but she really hung in there with us. And it was just cool to be like, oh, I didn't know that. Even if you weren't like, playing to win, it was cool to still be there and play. Trivia was a big deal on the ship. One of their favorite games on the ship was called the yes-no game. And if you've ever done Princess, you already know what this is. But the yes-no game goes something like this. You go up on stage and they're going to ask you some questions. And you cannot say the word yes or the word no. And you can't say it in any language. You can't say sí or nada, or no, or you can't say yes or no. Right? And you don't realize how much you say yes and no all day, every day, until you can't say it. And then, of course, they're asking you questions. So, did you have a good day today out there in port? Did you eat some lobsters? Where are you? So they're asking you all these yes, no questions. And you're having to think quick because you have to answer. You can't shake your head. You must give an answer. So you're trying to think really fast, like, let's say you did you go snorkeling today? And let's say you went snorkeling today. You were like, perhaps. So that was really cool. And if you could last, I think it was 2 minutes or 3 minutes, you won that round. It was a lot of fun. And then like close to the last day, they had like the big tiebreaker of the yes, no. It was a lot of fun. They had the staff there. The entertainment team, they came out and they did like dancing, and it was really cool. There was one person who did the Michael Jackson dance. He won hands down. With he nobody was close. He was excellent. Then somebody was let me see. Oh my gosh. One of the men was a woman and had on heels this high. They did good. No, two of the men actually did that. It was a lot of fun. And then they got graded by other staff members on their performance and musicality, and that was a lot of fun. There was always like jewelry shows and of course spa raffles, and some of the videos will show they had like one was bowling, right? But bowling with this big gigantic inflatable ball, like a big gigantic beach ball, right? So that thing is huge, but it has, no girth to it. It's full of air. So you have this big ball and then these little blow up pins. And I played it, and I know I didn't look great doing it. I had fun. And you try to bat that thing down. It was so hard. It was much harder than it looked. So you could bowl, you could play beanbag toss, or I guess that's called, I forget what it's called now. Put it in the comments. When you toss it, it's not called beanbag. It's that. They had like a ring toss. They had ice carving, all the things that a cruise ship would have, right? They had to keep us entertained. We were there for 14 days. So I really consider the entertainment was like top notch, because you could find something to do that would suit you, you would enjoy. And that had nothing to do with all of the bars that were there. There were bars, with lively stuff going on. One of the bars, it would show you videos of where the liquor came from. Where's the rum made? And it would show you a video of them going to make it. And then you could come up and they would video you making this drink from that island, this popular drink. And they would put all the portions there, and then you would pour it into the cup and make it. And, that was a lot of fun. So there was plenty to do and see on that cruise. Never bored, never bored. The food, that's a big one. Food is subjective as well, because even through the three of us, I would eat something. My mother, I think nearly every night, she did not care for the brochen rolls, the type of rolls that they served you on the table. The best way that I can describe them is brochen, which is a German roll, and it's crusty and crispy on the outside, crunchy, but when you pull it on the inside, it's very soft and delicious, in my opinion. My mother did not care for that at all. Almost every night she'd say, "This bread is hard as a rock." She didn't like that crunchy, crusty outer hard shell. So we realized like day 3, 4, or 5 to ask for a soft, like, Kaiser roll or whatever it's called. So I could say that the rolls were excellent. My mom would say they were terrible. So food is very subjective. But overall, this is what I'm going to say about the food on Princess. It was great. And I'm talking about the food in the buffet as well as the food in the dining rooms. I did not do any specialty dining, so I cannot say was a specialty dining excellent, above average, and worth it. I can't say firsthand, so that's something I did not experience. I did have food in my room. I had food delivered. I had food in the dining rooms, and we had food at the buffet. All in all, it was great. One time in the buffet, they had like crab leg night. People went wild. It was like somebody said, "We're giving away free money." People were lined up 30 minutes before it opened, and we were sitting there like, what is going on? What is going on? We did eat at the buffet, although we eat at the main dining room much more often. We ate at the buffet pretty frequently enough, but we were there wondering, why are all these people lined up all the way around? What's going on? People came with crab legs this high off their plate. I was like, come on now. You don't eat 14 crab legs? Come on now. People were like, it was mad. They had great seafood. They had great offerings. There was always some type of vegetarian, vegan, Indian, Asian, American type of thing. One thing I would say is, I would say that it was based on the islands that we were visiting. I didn't notice that. A lot of cruises, if we're in, this island, you're going to have a traditional food from that island or that country. I didn't notice that. Maybe that happened. I just noticed there was a variety. They changed the food. Some things did remain the same. You know, there was the baked chicken all the time. There was, what was that over there? Like shrimp, little shrimp cocktail area all the time. There was like a taco area where you could get guacamole and chips and salsa and make like your tacos. That was there all the time. So there were some things that were constant, but it changed out all the time for breakfast, lunch, and dinner because we tried them all at the buffet. The food was good. It was good. In the main dining room, portions are definitely smaller. Probably no surprise to anybody since we started cruising in 2001. Portions were smaller, but good. I didn't have a complaint. You know, some things just I don't like. I don't like peas. So when they served mushy peas with my food, I didn't like it. And it was underneath. It was like a puree underneath the meat. I had a steak and it was like a mushy pea kind of puree. Just thinking about it now, I'm like, ugh, I don't like peas. I don't like sweet peas. I don't want them in my food, on my food, near my food. So that was there. And I was like, but the food was still good. It's just that I don't like peas. So it, you know, it is subjective, but overall good temperature, good quality, and good variety and selection. So the food was good. Oh. The service. One thing I did notice, the service was like muted. I don't know how I can say it. There was no one who was just rude. There was none of that. None of that. Never. Everyone helped and was great, but they weren't like over the top. I've been to other cruise lines where they're just like, you know, talkative to you and getting to know you and extras, and it wasn't necessarily like that. Now, some of the staff in the buffet, they would come and talk to us and kind of, you know, just talk. But like our room steward, he came and cleaned the room and he left. A lot of times we talk with the room steward. We've taken pictures with the room steward. You know, we've gotten to know them pretty well. Not this one. Not this one. He would come and he would clean the room and do everything that needed to be done. But there was not a lot of, you know, extra, which is fine with me. I don't know. But I would say the service was still excellent. I had no problem or no issue at all with the service. Overall, I would highly recommend a Princess Cruise, and it doesn't have to be if you're older. I think no matter what age range you fall in, you would enjoy a Princess Cruise. Now, once again, I didn't check out the kids programming, so I don't know if the kids liked it. All the kids I saw were screaming, yelling, running, and having fun. I'm sure that's not, you know, that's not a good review of it because I didn't have kids with me, but people were enjoying themselves. It was nice. It was relaxing. It was fun. It was as adventurous as you wanted it to be. I had a really good time. The shows also were much better. There were no puppets or Muppets. They had 3 big headline shows, like where the group, the staff, I mean the entertainers are up there singing, dancing, lights, camera, moving, all that. One show I kind of thought was weird. It was like it had to do with video gaming. And remember, I said that the demographic is kind of like late 40s, 50s. I don't know. This just could be me, but I would think that that is not the demographic and age who would be like into gaming. And they would be looking at this show like, now what? Because it was like, you know, the guy was going through every level, next level. He had to defeat the whatever to get to the next level to save the queen. I mean, you know, that was kind of interesting. But the shows, I wouldn't say they were mind-blowing and great, but there were some really great singers. The singers, all of the singers could sing. They were singers. And all the dancers could dance. They were dancers. So the shows were good. I would go on another Princess Cruise immediately. That's not where I'm going, but I would go on another Princess Cruise. Definitely. It was a lot of fun. Let me get back now to how I beat the cruise blues. I got online and did some travel agent magic and found a cruise for less than $380 for one person. If any of you know, cruise lines base their figures and numbers on double occupancy. They base it on 2 people in a room. That's how they count it out, birth it out. That's how they adjust for their income, right? So 2 people in a room. So when there's 3 people in a room, they're getting kind of less because you usually get a discount, you know, but there's more people in the room. So they base it off of double occupancy. So just like if there's more people, it's a change. If there's less people, it's a change. So what do I mean? They usually make solo travelers, and solo travelers out there, I know you're paying, I've been hearing it for the longest, you have to pay what they call a single supplement, meaning double usually. I'm not kidding you. If it would be $7.99 per person for the cruise and you're a solo traveler, guess what? $1,600. Cough it up. They make you pay this solo, you know, supplement. It's not always double, but it's usually always more. You know, some cruise lines, especially Norwegian, even Royal, they're working to help with that. Like they're building solo cabins, which are much smaller. But hey, okay, if I don't have to pay double the price nearly. But I found a cabin for 1 person, so for a solo, that was less than cabins for 2 people. I found it for $380, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And it was for 7 days, and I said, you got to be kidding me. And it was on a cruise line that I hadn't been on before, so I said, you got to be kidding me. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, I just got back, and will my employer, how will they feel? But I didn't care because my employer was like, Cynthia, we're thinking about doing some. Anyway, I said, how many lives do you get to live? Book it. And so I booked that cruise, and I am leaving on September 24th. I had to think about it. 28th. Yes, the last Saturday in September. That's right, in like 17 days. I think my cruise app says 17 days. I am on my next cruise. I am leaving out of Miami, and I will be on the beautiful new MSC Seascape. And I am super excited because, as you know, or you might not know, that is the exact same ship that we will be having our group cruise on. Yes, Right Recipe for Travel has their group cruise, or our group cruise, next year, not this November, next November, when MSC makes its way down to Texas. And we will be leaving out of the MSC, out of Galveston on the MSC Seascape next November. I think it's the 18th. But I'm going to drop the link in the description for our brochure for our group cruise. Make sure you don't wait, you don't hesitate. I know that next November sounds like a long way away, but this is how you can get some incredible prices. You know, $500 and $600 and $700 for ocean views, balconies, possibly even suites. I'm not kidding you. I've locked in some incredible pricing. So don't wait. Come and get your deposit put on that. It's only, I think, $199 for the deposit. That'll lock your room in for next November. You're going to be one of the first group of people to take the Seascape when it comes to Galveston. Well, I'm going to Miami. No, Fort Lauderdale. No, Miami. I'm going to Miami in 2 weeks to get on the Seascape, and I'm going to preview it. I'm going to be able to see everything that the Seascape has and preview so that I can really sell to you, come on this beautiful ship that's coming to Galveston for the first time. Come with us and have some Texas hospitality. Please let us say a warm welcome to you as you join us on our super fun group cruise next November. But I am leaving in 17 days to hop aboard the MSC Seascape for a 7-day cruise. I am going to be going to their private island, that marine reserve at Ocean Key. I'm going to be going to Nassau and also to, there's someplace else, San Juan, I think is the itinerary. I am super excited to try a new cruise line that I haven't tried before. I'm super excited to get on the Seascape. I'm super excited to not have to cook and clean for another week. So I'm super excited. That is how I beat my cruise blues. Please let me know how you beat the cruise blues. And the fact that it was affordable and I could do it and it was available. And then, oh, get this. I forgot to tell you this part. I booked the least expensive that I could. I had just come back from a 14-day cruise, right? So the least expensive is always what they usually show you on the pricing, and that's always for an interior. So I booked it. Whatever. But then they gave me a free upgrade to a deluxe balcony. So I'm super stoked. I am so excited to go on this cruise. So I will be giving all the details. I will be vlogging and showing you the ship and the ports and what there is to do and see on the seascape. So keep watching. All right. I want to share with you before we leave today our September, or Right Recipe for Travel, my September 11th, 2001 story. Okay. We started cruising in 2001. We had thought about it and talked about it and decided, let's do this cruise thing. Let's do it. And we went to a cruise show and saw the vision and said, let's do it. And we booked ourselves on, well, we didn't. Our travel agent booked us on a Carnival cruise, right? Break us in. And let me see, where are my notes? It was the Carnival Imagination. 2001. Our cruise date was September 8th of 2001. So 23 years ago. So we got on that cruise and it was our first experience with cruising and Carnival, and we were having a blast. 5-day cruise. I think it left out of Miami. It definitely left out of Florida. So one of those ports. And we were just, our first step into cruising. Once again, we had this notion. It was shuffleboard and sitting around in a hammock. It was lively and it was fun and it was so much fun. So on September 11th, that morning, we docked in Jamaica. And right now, sitting here, I don't remember. And if you're on here, Mom or Tiff, and you know which port it was, drop that in the comments below. I don't remember if we docked in Ocho Rios or Montego Bay. I'm not sure, but it was Jamaica. And we were walking around, and then the Jamaican people started saying to us, because they would hear our accent, because of course they couldn't tell at first, were we Jamaican or are we American? And they would hear our accent and say, oh, you're American, where are you from? Well, I am originally from New York, and I lived in Texas. So sometimes I would say, oh, Texas, or sometimes I would say New York. And I said New York, and one woman gasped. She said, oh! And I jumped. She startled me. And she's like, oh my gosh, you better call your family. You need to call your family. Family is so important. You need to see if they're okay. And I'm looking at her like, Jamaicans are weird. And as we kept going and, we're touristing, we're at the shops and we're getting something to drink and we're dancing to the music, but it kept happening. They kept hearing our accent and they're asking us, hey, where are you from? And we said it again, we're from New York. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And we were like, what's going on with these people? Had no clue what they were talking about. No clue what was going on. September 11th, 2001. We get hungry and decide, let's go back to the ship, because we were going to be there like for a long time. So we said, let's go back to the ship, eat the food there on the ship, and then let's come back out on the island and have some more fun. All right. So we get back onto the ship and we notice it was noticeably quiet. And anyone who's cruised knows that ships aren't quiet. There's like music blasting and blaring all the time, or there's something going on all the time. And the sound had been like brought down and it was like mellow. And we were like, that's crazy. We went into our room to put our stuff away before we went to go get something to eat. And the television was on. And they were like saying over the loudspeaker, everyone, we are allowing you to have free access to phone calls until this situation is resolved. And please tune into the news to get more information. So we're like, what are they talking about? Then, of course, we sat down and saw what they were talking about. We were stunned, as everybody was, and horrified, as everybody was. And I'm going to just speak for me, not my travel companions, but a bit guilty. I felt like guilty that I had been having probably one of the best times of my life and this was happening. And I know that's weird, right? That two and two, right? That doesn't equate, but I was having such a great time and just had no clue of the tragedy that was going on. Why would I? So then, of course, we're crying and we're looking at the news and we're trying to figure out, because we have one day at sea and then the next day we're going to be back. And we're hearing that nobody is allowed to come in on planes. Of course, we had a flight back to Texas. Nobody is allowed to come in on ships. We're out there on a cruise ship. What do we do? So we're listening to this, and then I get nervous, but they're allowing us to make phone calls. I call back home and make sure my children, because my children were home, staying with family, and I made sure that they were safe and they were okay. And I'm like, is everybody there okay? Everybody was. My family at that point, most of them were in Texas. My other family is in Buffalo, New York. So we weren't affected directly like that. So we're calling because they're offering us free calls, and we're listening, and it was so somber. The party just went out. It was like a deflated balloon. The party was just out. You know, we were all like shocked. And then we started to worry, how are we going to get back? So they're blasting stuff over the intercom all the time. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't know quite now how we're going to do this. This is the first time happening for everyone. We sympathize, we empathize. If you need to make phone calls, if you need to, make arrangements, we're allowing that, blah, 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 blah. And they're trying to say, just have a good time. So the next day they're telling us, well, we're going to be in port back in Florida the next day, but you guys can't get off the ship. You can't take a flight either. So we're going to offer you a deal. We're going to offer you another 5-day trip going right back out for like $120. It was something stupid, And I was like, yes, let's do it. Sorry, I'm being honest. Once I found out that everybody was okay and, what could we do? I was like, well, we can't go back anyway. Let's do it. My sister was like, no way. I got to get home and get to my husband. And are you kidding? So we were kind of debating, what do we do? Because we weren't able to go back anyway. So it was a play it by ear kind of thing. We kind of felt guilty having fun on the ship, and people were like hugging one another, and people were a little bit nicer to each other. And it was just a weird, weird experience. So that next day we arrived back in Miami, and they're like, you can't leave. Flights are not leaving right now. And they're not going to let us in. It was the longest process for immigration that I've ever had. We had to stand all around in this area, and they came on with dog. I mean, we're not the ones who, but everybody's senses were heightened. They came on with dogs, and they're making us stand there, and it's deathly quiet. And it was so weird. And so Carnival had to put us up in hotels because we couldn't go anywhere. So, anybody who decided not to go right back out on the trip for $100 and something bucks, and you were leaving, Carnival paid for you to stay in a hotel until your flight was going to leave. And our flight was able to leave the next day. So we got put up in like a Hyatt or a Hilton, didn't have to pay for anything. They drove us there. They took us back and paid for our hotel. And then that next day, they did allow us to fly home. Now, flying home after the 9/11 plane attacks, that was a whole other story. People were so jittery and nervous and, looking at each other very distrustfully and hugging their kids closer. It was tense. If you think flying could be kind of tense anyway, it was a very tense situation. It made you pray. It made you thank God. It made you think how small we are really in the whole scheme of things. It was crazy. It was so shocking to find out that we were probably having the best time on the Isle out there in Jamaica, and that was happening. And the Jamaican people were trying to tell us, and we just had no clue. We couldn't even understand. What are you saying? And then to come back on the ship, and everybody was just like stunned. We can't possibly have a good time. The world is crashing around us. So it was surreal, but that is what started. That was my first foray into cruising. And although that terrible tragedy happened and that all happened, it sparked my cruise enthusiasm, and I have not stopped since. I am a cruise enthusiast for real. I could go on a cruise once a month, twice a month, and enjoy it. There's so much world out there to see, so many cultures, food, things to know and see that I would love to go and see and do. So I am really trying to make sure that I get on as many cruises as I possibly can, because I consider it a blessing to be there. I have a lot of fun on cruising. I know some of my friends are like, you'll never get me on one. Okay, that means more space for me. I understand. To each his own. I don't knock it. I just enjoy it. I have been talking so long, and this light is hot, and I think I'm hungry. I have not been able to see any comments. It's been quite tough. I told you that my let's see, my internet went down, and I saw one comment and nothing else. I don't know if there are no more or if I just can't see them. Let me see. So unfortunately, I have not been able to see any of your comments. After the show is over, I'm going to go back in and, reply to those comments. But I thank you so much for joining us on this 9/11 Wednesday night live chat. Even with all of the hiccups with technology, I don't let it stop me. We just keep going, right? Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you were able to smash down on that like button. Please do so. And if you're watching this as a repeat, please do so and answer any of the questions that I posed to you. Now it's time to eat a cupcake and chill out and work on some other things. I thank you so much for joining us. Please do join us on our group cruise next November on the MSC Seascape when MSC comes to Galveston. And I will let you know all about how it is as I go to Miami to check it out. All right, I'm through for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And we will catch you at the next adventure. Thanks. Bye.